Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm thrilled to be here, and Roseanne, thank you for your very, very generous remarks. Whenever I hear someone introducing me, I always wish that my kids were in the room. So you were very, very generous, and thank you for inviting me to be here today with you. It's a great honor as you celebrate the Innovators. And we're in I know that I'm in great company, and I think everyone else does as well. So to the officers and the directors of SAMCEDA, I have to tell you that early this morning, I was thinking about Bud Bostwick. I don't know how many of you remember him, but if you do, raise your hand. He was the voice of SAMCEDA many, many, many years ago, and one of the fathers of the organization, and he helped to keep the organization together and to move it forward. And Roseanne, thank you for your extraordinary leadership and what you're doing today. I know that Bud would really be very proud. Of course, to the distinguished honorees, to all of my friends that are here, and thank you for naming all of the elected officials that are here today, my colleagues in public service. So now I'm not going to name them all, but they're all important, and the work that they do and the partnerships that we have with one another are really essential so that we can act together, not separately, but together on behalf of our mutual constituents. It's great to be at ground zero of the economic recovery, and again, it's great to be here with you. I not only get to represent what is called the most distinguished congressional district in the nation, because it is the home of innovation. This is a place that is known across our country, admired around the world. Anywhere I've been, in any country, small, medium, or large, with fellow parliamentarians, with kings, with prime ministers, with whomever it might be, when they know that of the district that I represent, they nod. So everyone around the world knows where we are, who we are, and what we are about. And today, it's really appropriate that we're celebrating the creativity and the drive and the inventiveness and the accomplishments of some of the most gifted people in our region. People who are leading the nation to more solid economic ground and more sure financial footing. At every table, it says Innovators on the card. This is in the DNA of the American people, of our great nation. When you think of the framers, of the founders of our country, they were the original innovators of the nation. And so this is part of our heritage. And if there's a region that takes it seriously, celebrates it, and continues to reinvent it, it is here. And that's why I think today is really exciting. And each one of you that are being honored, I think, are amazing. You're adding thousands of jobs to the Bay Area economy, driving the unemployment rate down toward 7%. Now, we're not ever satisfied as Americans with the status quo. And 7%, maybe X number of years ago, we wouldn't be celebrating. But this is a distinguished figure in the country. Boosting home sales nearly 11% last month. And your ingenuity and your vision are the reason that 27% of all capital venture funds in the country are invested here. So I applaud you. I congratulate you. And I say, enjoy the moment. And that's really what I want to talk to you about today, making the most of this moment to ensure that you're continued, that there is continued prosperity and that you be able to continue it. SAMCEDA not only survives and thrives because it's never been just about business. Your core message, business is good and business brings opportunity, carries a very special meaning as we climb out of the depth of this recession. For many people, your members are creating opportunities, and right now there's nothing better or more important than that. But if we're lucky and the positive trend continues, you'll soon be engaged in much more. In the not-too-distant future, you'll be figuring out where to build your next lab, how to launch your next product, and the dividends that will be paid as a result of it. And there are, as we all know, a multiplicity of dividends, and we all look forward to that day. But in this one moment, before you're fully engulfed once again by the success that is already your hallmark, take a moment and consider the opportunities that exist to elevate your game as corporate citizens. As you grow, you want to know that our airports, our trains, and our ports can move your people and your goods. You'll want to know, you'll want to expand knowing that you have a reliable and a predictable supply of power and water, and that a skilled and knowledgeable workforce is right outside your door. Where and how you grow will be all about making the most of our natural resources and our collective treasury. You want housing prices and recreational facilities that make it easy for you to compete for the finest minds in the world. You want high-quality K-12 schools that give you a competitive advantage in bringing those wonderful geniuses and their families right here. And I'll wager you want to continue to operate at the crossroads of two world-class universities. We've had many discussions, as you know, about your continuing prosperity and the community, and the communities are connected. That recognition is at the heart of SAMCEDA's success, collaboration that includes understanding and respect for what the nonprofit community, government, and public institutions contribute to the private sector's ability to produce. I'm not suggesting that you have any more important obligation than to give your shareholders and employees a good return on their investment and labor. I am suggesting that your ability to do that is directly related to your willingness to be a fully invested partner in building the kind of community that supports your success. The old model of business weighing in on public decisions at the last minute is long gone. Today, we need your buy-in early and your best thinking. We also need you to expect and accept that those of us in government must balance your short-term need against the long-term community good, and that invariably you will benefit. This moment between slow and go in the economy should be used to raise the bar on our collaboration. Let's embrace the hard things we've put off. Let's plan improvements we need to safeguard what we've built and ensure that there will be more to celebrate in the future. High-speed rail is on that list, and we are today, at this moment, on the threshold of creating a 21st century Caltrain, the spine of our transportation system. This is a huge achievement, and I think that I am so excited about it that I can barely speak, because 8 months ago, 18 months ago, 3 years ago, maybe even 8 weeks ago, I often wondered when I went to bed at night whether we would get there or not. Adrienne Tessier, the president of the San Mateo County Board and the chairwoman of the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, certainly Mike Scanlon, who heads up our transportation agency here, have helped to bring us to this moment where next week votes will be cast, where a multiplicity of public agencies are going to see to it that the full funding for electrification of Caltrain will take place. That is a victory. That is a victory for our environment. It's a victory for employers. It's a victory for commuters. But it's a victory for the people in this region that have had a consistent vision amongst all of the difficulties and the issues that have been raised by people in the community. And it does take vision, and it takes a collective vision to make these things work. So thank you to each one of you that have been involved in this. I couldn't be prouder, and I know that future generations are going to say that something noble and good was done by this generation. On that list of things that we have to keep our eye on certainly is bay conservation, open space preservation, energy infrastructure, and always, 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 education is on the list. As the ranking member of the Subcommittee on Communications and Technology, that's a mouthful. It's the committee that I serve on. That's what it means. And I was elected last year to be the lead Democrat. And it took all of last year and the beginning of this year to oversee a really lengthy and complex process that resulted in something that you don't get to read about. It's not, the talking heads are not on it. No one is congratulated. But my purpose from the beginning with the Republican chairman of this subcommittee is to make America #1 in broadband. Not 14th, not 17th, not 24th in the world, but #1. This is essential for this country in the 21st century. And so that resulted in, great, thank you. It's resulted in the passage of a really historic piece of legislation that will make more spectrum available in our country. We know everything is moving to wireless, and that spectrum is the gold that is needed in order to launch all of that. And again, to make our country first. The legislation included unlicensed provisions, which I really fought hard for. Maybe some of you don't know what it is, but it represents a lot of money. A lot of money and a lot of jobs, and it's a platform for the innovators that may have a shop of 5, 7, 11, 17 people. And without that being protected, they simply would have to close the door, shut the lights off, and call it quits. We also finally heeded the 9/11 Commission's call for a nationwide, interoperable public safety network for our public safety people across our nation. That is a real achievement when we think back to that fateful day when neither fire or police could communicate with each other. Imagine that. They were in those buildings, but they couldn't communicate with one another. One can't help but think, if this were in place, what would have happened that day? So the unlicensed provisions that I championed, they really increase opportunities and jobs for new and innovative devices and services. All over the Valley, people told me that there are remarkable inventive uses of unlicensed spectrum, and as I said, the potential that it has to create so many more jobs in our country and to expand this very, very important part of our national economy. And the consumer benefits surpass $50 billion with a B dollars a year. Good results for everyone, built on solid information, thorough analysis, and an open and inclusive process, which drives a lot of people crazy because we can't do things the way the private sector does, where someone just takes a decision, takes it to their board, they do it, it's done. And those that will capitalize the idea. We have to, in my case, I've got to work with 750,000 people. How's that one? So that's the easy part. It's working with members of Congress that really just, But when we focus on a common goal and refuse to leave the table until we get it, we can really do amazing things. And that's what we're celebrating today. So as resources are available, let's be prepared with our top priorities. Let's have those conversations now. In every other way, our region is ahead of the proverbial curve. Let's get there on our public priorities as well. I'm really honored to celebrate with you today. In the spirit of the founders, of the framers, the original innovators, imagine the risks that they took and what they launched and the lasting quality of that and the timelessness of not only their vision, but also their leadership against all odds. And I think when you knit the two together, that we reappreciate who we are as a people, what we are as a nation, what we represent to the world, and that this corner of the world, San Mateo County, being part of Silicon Valley, is nothing short of extraordinary. But we can't rest on our laurels. There's too much that requires our collective attention. Let's get to it. You know that I'm your partner in it. Thank you for having me here today, and congratulations to the honorees. We're all so proud of you. Thank you.